Well, thank you for joining me today as we talk about health and wellness and just, the beginning of the new year is such a popular time to start thinking about, how we can be well and really take great care of ourselves. So, Raisa, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, your credentials, why this is an area of expertise for you?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me, Brenna. And I'm super excited to be able to share a little bit of my passion with everybody. So, I'm Raisa. I am finishing up to be a registered dietitian. I originally went to school for behavioral health, so I do have a background in psychology. I just love people. I am a certified personal trainer. I am a hormone specialist, and I do have a nutrition certification, but with the schooling, I feel like the schooling is a little bit more important. So that's kind of a little bit of who I am.
Awesome. So, what inspired you to kind of go into this field?
Yeah. So honestly, it was pretty inward. So I always knew I wanted to help people. Like helping has been my passion. I just never knew in which direction I wanted to take that in. And when I graduated high school and I first went to college, and I was presented with all of the, I would say, fun foods that, I didn't have growing up. I really found myself having a really negative relationship with food. So then when I decided to change my major, because I just found that mental health was just really, really difficult for me. I found that I wanted to do preventative, just help. I wanted to help spread education on nutrition. So I decided to go a more traditional route, but probably the hardest route, which is to become a dietitian. And a lot of people don't talk about how difficult it is to become a dietitian. Most people, you think of a dietitian, you think of somebody in a clinical setting, working with diabetic patients, or, somebody that is in an ICU. And I'm doing something more like what we're doing. I want to spread awareness of the importance of eating healthy foods and leading a healthy life. So it was pretty much like inward focus. Like I wanted to do it to educate myself. And as I immersed myself in it and I found gaps, and I went through my own journey of losing weight, and then I gained weight, and then, losing weight, this vicious cycle, I realized, wow, something is missing here. I'm doing it too restrictive. And what are some better ways to do this that I can keep it long term, and what I can do to spread a little bit more education and light.
Awesome. I love that so much. I love hearing your perspective and kind of why you got started on it. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about health and wellness for that kind of preteen, middle school, prepubescent girl, what does that look like for her? How can you start to build some really positive and healthy habits? And I think keeping in mind that there's so much misinformation out there, there's so many crazy fad diets, what the media, what society tells us is beautiful, is healthy. So I would love to start off talking about food. So some food choices that girls, particularly at that age range, maybe the 10 to 12, 13 age range, what recommendations or advice would you provide to a girl in that age range about making those healthy food choices?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I have to always hone in, because remember going back to being 12, 13, and this is the time where you're having all of the hormones. And the number one thing that you will start to hear is stop eating carbohydrates. And I am here to tell you that you need to eat carbohydrates. I think every food group plays a really beautiful role in our life. And just starting to build that foundation of making sure that you include all foods. So when we look at what are some beneficial foods that we can include, is definitely healthy fats, because healthy fats are the foundation to our hormones. And then carbohydrates, like that is literally our fuel source that we need in our brain. like works with glucose. So pretty much a carbohydrate, it's broken down into simple sugar, which is that glucose that your brain needs. So I definitely will say all three, protein, fats, and carbohydrates, are extremely important. And just not falling into, like, oh, fruit has too much sugar, things like that. I think they all play a really awesome role into our dietary needs.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you said that because that idea of like, I'm just going to cut out carbs. I'm not going to eat any carbs anymore. People say that a lot of times if they are trying to lose weight or slim down, and people don't realize that it can have such a detrimental effect on your health. Especially, thinking about like even cutting out fats, a really low fat diet. Fats are critical to that hormone production. So I'm so glad you said that. And kind of going off of that, one thing that you and I have talked about a lot is this idea of good food, bad food. Can you kind of expand on that mindset and like why, especially at that age, it can be problematic to think about good foods versus bad foods?
Oh yeah, dude. This is probably one of my favorite things I love to talk about, because we as a society, like, we love to put labels on things. When we say this is good, this is bad, like, I ate a cookie, so I'm bad, but I ate a salad and I am, like, I'm so good, right? And I think if anything is taking a look at food as not even just a fuel source, it's like it's embedded into our culture, it's embedded into interactions with people. So it's just being like, some food does have a little bit more nutrition value. Absolutely. So taking a look at something and being like, well, when I ask people to make choices, like for breakfast, for example, I will say, ask yourself the question, will this food provide me with like a lot of energy, like things like that? Most of the time, if you're reaching for just like a donut by itself, it probably won't provide you with a lot of energy throughout the day. That doesn't mean that that food is bad, right? It just means it has a little bit less nutrients in it to provide you with that energy source. So being able to just recognize, like, we have like our fun soul foods that we love and enjoy, but there comes that balance where, hey sis, you probably should also pick up like some raspberries and some yogurt and things like that as well. So finding that little bit of balance in between, I think it's really awesome.
Absolutely. I think it's so important. Like we get trapped into this cycle of demonizing food and like this food is bad. No, that's not the case at all. It's just a difference in nutrients. So I love that. Um, I'd love to move on a little bit too and talk about exercise and staying active. What advice do you have for girls who, might be struggling with staying home a lot more? They're not walking back and forth to classes, back and forth to school. Maybe sports practices are canceled. What advice do you have for living an active lifestyle, even when we're more homebound than typically we are?
Yeah, totally. I think one thing is you can set little alarms. So, one thing that we've noticed is probably our phone usage, our social media usage has been higher through this time. We love to be entertained, TikTok, things like that. We love that. So almost like the same way that you would do that habitually, maybe set an alarm every hour. I like to do like 5-minute little dance parties, like put your favorite song and just move. Like, who cares? Dance like no one's watching. Sometimes if you do have a pet, I mean, take your pet for a walk. I think that's really awesome. Um, Nothing says that it's okay to walk around your house, you know what I mean? But finding fun ways to do, go on YouTube, find maybe a dance to learn. I did that at the beginning and I thought it was really hard and really fun. So just finding ways. I know there's like there's a ton of things on YouTube, like free yoga classes and things like that, that don't necessarily are like a really crazy workout that you need to have a lot of skills, but it's still promoting moving the body, that I think could be really beneficial.
So it sounds to me like overall, when we're talking about nutrition, when we're talking about staying active, moving our bodies, it's really this sense of finding a balance that works for you and helps you to build a life that you feel really great. You feel really healthy and energetic. Is there any other, specific advice or anything like that that you would love to tell a girl in that age range, 10 to 12, 13?
Yeah, yeah, dude. I think it's awesome. I think honestly, one of the best things to do is to really remember, to do the things that you love. So, what are some things, that you love to do? Do you really enjoy listening to some, I don't know. I don't know what's really what kind of music is in right now, but what kind of music do you enjoy? I remember thinking back, I love to like sing with my brush and do dumb things. Like who cares? Maybe not try to be who the world tells you to be. It's okay for you to, want to do a half a ponytail, and, it is okay to be who you want to be. It is okay if you want to do, want to do some yoga and maybe somebody else doesn't. That's still promoting, it makes you feel good internally, externally. So I think just that it's okay to be yourself. And to love who you are.
Awesome. Well, Raisa, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I think we have a lot of really great advice for our girls, and a lot of things that I know I would have loved to know a little bit more about at that age. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome.